let me start today with this question. What's the Bears franchise hallmark? What do we know the Bears for? Over not just decades, but generations. If you say the run game, I'll give that answer to you, but the number one answer should be the defense, right? We all know the Bears for their defense. When the Bears make the Super Bowl, when they go far in the playoffs, it's usually because of their defense. 85, 2005, 2018, 2010, even this past year to an extent. The Bears' defense has always put the team in their best chance to win. They've never had a quarterback. We all know that. They've had running backs over the years. That's helped out the defense. But the defense, without question, is the most iconic hallmark for this franchise. Without the defense, this team is nothing. Its history is nothing. The Bears would have no quarterbacks, no defense. They'd be one of the worst franchises in football without the great names that we know. Butkus, Singletary, Urlacher, Briggs. Without those guys, this team would be nothing. Whenever the Bears win, it's usually because of their defense. So when the opposite happens, when their defense can't come through, when that unit, which you trust a lot, can't pick up the slack, the result's never going to be good. That's what happened on Sunday. The Bears' defense did not come to play, and the Bears lost a tough game to Detroit that virtually eliminated them from the playoff picture. Not mathematically, but pretty much they're done. They're at 5-7. Had they won, they would have been in a tie for the final wild card spot at 6-6. Instead, they're done. 5-7. And they had the lead for the majority of the game, but they couldn't come through. Now, I know everyone's first instinct is to take down Mitch, and that fumble was tough. No question. I'm not going to defend the guy for another turnover like that. He had a great game before that fumble. I know he was facing the Lions, but still, it counts for something. The fumble didn't help. Here's my take, though. Throw the fumble away for a second. Should the Bears have been in that position? Seriously. Should the Bears have been in a position where the Lions were right on their tail, where the Lions, without Kenny Golladay, with Matthew Stafford, scored 34 points? Should the Lions have scored 34 points on this Bears defense? No. Should the Lions have gotten 460 total yards against this defense? No. That's why the Bears lost. See, situationally, I know. Mitch fumbled, Lions scored. Bears had another chance, they couldn't get it, I know. Those last couple of events don't help anybody's case, but should the Bears have been there? The answer is no. If you're giving up 34 points to Detroit, you got some issues defensively. Just for reference, the Carolina Panthers shut out Detroit earlier this year. Bears beat the Panthers. Panthers are 4-8. And the Bears lose to Detroit 34-30. What does that tell you? Look, the Bears' offense, for the most part, did a great job. I think we can all agree on that. Great game. 30 points with Mitch. Mitch had an okay game himself despite the fumble. 1 touchdown, 267 yards, no picks. David Montgomery, another great game, and Cordero Patterson, too. 10 rushes, 59 yards. The run game was there. They were moving well. But that last drive, to me, was atrocious. After the Bears get the ball back, after Detroit scores and they get one more chance, the Bears are driving downfield. Mitch, to his credit, did a great job at keeping them in the game. I saw the graphic on the screen, 7 career game-winning touchdown drives entering yesterday. I thought it would have been 8. He was moving. Everyone played along. They were listening. They were right there. And the Allen Robinson play. Robinson had a mental error, and he couldn't get the first down, and set up a 4th and 1, and then for some reason, Bill Lazor called a run up the middle with David Montgomery. I was shaking my head. I didn't understand the call. Why are the Bears running with David Montgomery on a 4th and 1? There could have been a lot of different plays they could have called there. I mean, just off the top of my head, they could have called a pass and actually thrown it. They could have called a pass and had Mitch run it. They could have called a QB sneak. They could have done something different to throw off the Lions' defense. Instead, no. They run it right up the middle with David Montgomery. And I know Montgomery had a good game, but in that situation, 4th and 1, what do you think the defense will expect? I did not like that call. And that whole sequence. The Robinson error, or I should say the miscue, and then Montgomery trying to run it up the middle on a 4th and 1. I didn't like that at all. And it ruined what Mitch was doing. Of course, the Bears lose. Everyone remembers the fumble. Mitch was driving. I firmly believed he would end up winning that game. We can agree on that. They were moving downfield. They were doing well. The offense was clicking. Again, it was clicking all game. And then all of that happens. That was, without question, probably the most shocking loss I've ever seen from the Bears. The whole game, they were up. They had momentum. They were leading. Offense clicking. Defense doing enough to win. The defense didn't win that game, but they were doing enough to keep the Lions at bay. And then the fumble. And then Detroit scores. The Bears trying to come back. Mental mistakes. Running on 4th and 1. It was horrible. But that's a lesson. That's a lesson to the Bears. They never win shootouts. They don't. They're not an offensive team. Mitch had a good game. The offense clicked. They faced Detroit. They always do well against Detroit. But no matter which team they face, the Bears never win a shootout. So you had to have expected something to happen. I don't know about the fumble and the way it ended, but if you actually thought the Bears would firmly pull this out, there'd be no issues, no mistakes, that's not a good way of looking at it. The Bears never win shootouts. They need defensive help. They didn't need a lot yesterday, but it would have been nice to limit the Lions to less than 34 points. Carolina shut out the Lions. The Bears beat Carolina. The Bears gave up 34 to Detroit. What's wrong with that picture? It's just such an issue. It's so weird. Just when you think something else is happening, just when you think, okay, the offense is coming back, then the defense regresses. When the defense is up, the offense regresses. They're never even keel. They're never working together to win a football game, and it's no surprise why they're 5-7. And it's just frustrating. It's irritating as a Bears fan to sit here every week and just look at something new, something different. They find a way to lose every week. Oh, the quarterback issue. Oh, David Montgomery can't run. Oh, the defense is a problem. No turnovers by the defense. Every week it's something different. What that says to me is this team is not good. Even though they're 5-7, even though they're technically still in the hunt, If every week you're losing by a different cause, something needs to change. If you're never clicking as a cohesive unit, if the offense and the defense can't work together, if every week we sit here and look at a different aspect of the game and say that's why they lost, chances are the whole team sucks. And there needs to be serious consideration about a rebuild. Had the Bears won yesterday, I wouldn't be saying this. They'd be 6-6. They'd be right in the thick of the wild card race. Now, it's over. That's it. And it's just so irritating. It's so frustrating. Because it always seems like, hey, maybe they have something. Hey, maybe they got it together this week. And they don't. They never do. And when you look back at this season, when you look back at these past couple of years, changes need to be made. Ryan Pace's record with the Bears as a GM is under 500. He hired John Fox and Matt Nagy. He whipped on a quarterback, whipped on many draft picks. Something needs to change. The Khalil Mack trade. Matt Nagy, still an above 500 coach, but wants his own quarterback and will do what he can to get one, which means sabotaging and pretty much breaking Mitch Trubisky. I don't know. Something needs to happen. Because this is just so aggravating. What was your facial expression when you saw the fumble and the Lions score? I was sitting there like this for about 5 minutes with my mouth wide open. Because I couldn't believe it. Really funny story. GM of the station of WCKG, Matt Dubio. I texted him after the game. I said, hey, what a tough loss. He told me I didn't finish watching it yet. Then he said, how in the world did the Bears lose? I'm in the fourth quarter right now, about 10 minutes left. I said, oh, you'll love it. Exactly. How did the Bears lose? How did this happen again? They lose to a Lions team who just fired their head coach, just fired their GM. I mean, that's the performance you put up? And that's not an indictment on the offense. This is defensive. The Bears put up 30 points. Great game. 30 points in the NFL should win you 80% of the games you play, if not more. You should be winning all the time with 30 points a game. That was Mitch. That was the run game. Everything was clicking. I saw it on Twitter. Everybody said this was the best the offense looked all year. I agree. They had a good game. That's encouraging. But now the defense couldn't come through. Next week, it's probably going to be the opposite. Who knows? Every week, it's something new, and that's why change needs to happen. You can't be this inconsistent. 2018, each and every week, looks more and more like a fluke. I hate to say it because that was a good team, 12-4. To this day, I contend they would have won the Super Bowl had they had a decent kicker. But what have they done since then? Nothing. They've gotten worse and worse. The offense has regressed. The defense has too now, apparently. Vic Fangio's head coaching in Denver, Chuck Pagano came in, not looking good. Not the same. So there are a lot of different issues here with this team. And as much as it pains me to say it, because they were 5-1, they were the talk of the town, now you have to seriously consider a rebuild. Again. It's horrible. It's a shame to the fans who continue to tune in every week and expect a different result. And in some cases, they get a different result, but not the right one. Wow, Mitch did great. Now the defense is bad. Oh, Mitch had a bad game. Foles had a bad game. Oh, the defense did good. There's one positive every week, but there's always a negative that outweighs the positive. So all you do is talk about the negative, and all you see is the same result, a Bears loss. And after a while, it gets dumb, it gets boring, and something needs to happen to change that up. Will the Bears make that decision yet? I don't know. Matt Nagy's still there, even though people said he should be fired. I don't think the Bears should fire him yet, and there's no reason to. Still an above 500 head coach. Still had a decent tenure with Chicago. Seriously, 12-4, 8-8, 5-7. If he could turn this team around and go 9-7, he won't lose his job. But I will say this, changes need to be made. I don't know about a full rebuild, but there needs to be changes. Robert Quinn, horrible investment. Khalil Mack's getting older. The defense itself is getting old. And eventually, as we're starting to see now, they're not going to produce at the rate at which they once did. So if your defense is shot, if your offense is a dumpster fire, what other choice do you have? That's the big issue with the Bears. More to come here on Sports Talk Chicago. My interview with Casey Johnson comes up next, so stay tuned. Hey, do you want to make some money this weekend? What if I told you I could offer you $250 free to bet on any game you want? Here's what you have to do. Go to sportstalkchicago.com/cash. sportstalkchicago.com/cash. You have to be 21 plus. You have to be an Illinois resident. You can bet $250 free on any game you want for this upcoming weekend. Bears will be on if you choose to watch. You can bet on that. College football, college basketball. It's all back, and you have a great opportunity to win some serious money. Again, go to sportstalkchicago.com/cash. sportstalkchicago.com/cash. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.